Hey everybody, guess what? It's a very special occasion, so I'm going to do a very special review. We're going to get in the car after the movie and we're going to talk about it. So hopefully you enjoy.
It's Drewski McGillicuddy's Night of the Living Dead 50th Anniversary Movie Review from the theater parking lot.
Hey everybody, it's Drewski McGillicuddy, and that's the secretary, and guess what? I'm sure, judging from the intro, you probably know, we just watched Night of the Living Dead from 1968 on the big screen.
For the first time.
And I fucking cried. The opening scene, I fucking cried. Like, I grabbed her hand, we held hands. It was magical. It was kind of like the first time I saw The Wizard of Oz on the big screen.
I did cry on that.
Yeah, I sobbed like a baby. It was so beautiful. But, yeah, so I didn't realize when we went to see this that it was the 50th anniversary edition. Which is basically, we watched the Criterion edition because it was that transfer. But before the movie, they played like about a half an hour documentary talking with George Romero and
George C. Romero.
Well, George C. Romero and Andrew
C. Romero.
C. Romero.
Or was he Andrew A?
I don't know, because Andrew was named after George's middle name was Andrew, and then
but George was George C.
Yeah, so that was probably Cameron.
I don't know.
We'll have to look that. Who? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But anyway, they talked to him, and there was they talked to John Russo. Guillermo del Toro was on there, and he brought up a lot of really good points, which, you know, I'm not going to get into those because, you know, I might get into them myself.
I spoke to Greg Nicotero.
But just the way that he described the visceral aspect of this movie, like nothing like this had ever been shown before. Like, sure, there was Psycho and the flushing toilet, but this movie, there were people eating guts.
The cannibalism.
The cannibalism. Like, they went to the butcher shop and got like the entrails of the animals, and the actors were actually chewing on real entrails. So, yeah. But anyway, so the opening scene may be possibly the best opening scene in any horror movie ever. Just the foreboding atmosphere. Like, this movie's full of atmosphere, and it's black and white. So I don't know how you make atmosphere like this. So it's even more frustrating for me to try to explain how the atmosphere was lacking from that other movie that we just reviewed recently, Halloween 2018, which was also playing while we were watching. And it was sad. We get in there and there's only 6, like, including there was only 2 other couples in the movie, and that's sad. You know?
That was very sad. I thought there was more when we first got there.
They advertised the shit out of this.
Actually, they didn't. The only way I found this,
I heard radio, or I heard, like, when I was listening to Pandora the other day, I heard them play a commercial for the 50th anniversary edition.
Right, but I only found the tickets for this due to the fact that I was like stalking the Cinemark app looking for tickets for Halloween 2018, and that's how I stumbled upon the tickets for Halloween 78.
So thank you, Halloween 2018, for getting us hip to the fact that Night of the Living Dead was coming to theaters.
And thanks for robbing the bravado from the 50th anniversary of Night of the Living Dead, because this movie was so pivotal in modern day culture. We wouldn't have The Walking Dead. We wouldn't have...
The Walking Dead fucking sucks.
We wouldn't have the modern day zombie if it wasn't for this movie.
Well, put it this way, you wouldn't have Return of the Living Dead. You wouldn't have stuff like Train to Busan. You wouldn't have like the other good zombie movies.
World War Z. We wouldn't have.
I said the other.
The Girl with All the Gifts.
I said the other good.
Hey, The Girl with All the Gifts was a good movie.
World War Z made me fall asleep more than Halloween 2018.
Okay, we wouldn't have 28 Days Later.
Speaking of which, I had 2 beers while watching this movie, and I didn't fall asleep.
I only have one.
I didn't even feel the need to rest my eyes. Even though technically there are some slow moments to this movie.
But that's because this was a movie with story. It had a story. It was basically the dynamics of how are these people who are total strangers, how are they able to cope with each other during this dog-eat-dog kind of panic situation.
Like, the characters couldn't be any more different from each other. Like, you got, Ben, the black guy, and like I said, this was unheard of back then. Like, they brought up in the documentary that black men weren't cast in leading roles unless you were Sidney Poitier and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner and stuff like that. But they say George didn't cast. He wasn't looking for anybody in particular. He was looking for the best actor. And
as a matter of
Dwayne
fact,
Jones happened to be the best actor, and he also just happened to be black.
The character of Ben was actually written as a white truck driver, but when Dwayne auditioned, they loved him so much they rewrote it to fit him.
Also, I just hope you can't hear the car running because it's 43 degrees outside, so we had the heater on.
Cold.
We were going to do it outside the car.
I said, to hell with that.
With the woods in the background, had to be all ominous, spooky, because the moon is out. The hell with the day.
The moon.
The sunlight is only going to take love away.
We are the moon.
We are the moon. Anyway, shut up. Okay, so speaking of Dwayne, the other thing that's unheard of, you got this black guy, and he punches a white woman, and then beats the shit out of this white guy, and then shoots him, which he had every right to do so.
Yeah, because Mr. Cooper was a jackass.
But because it's one thing for them to cast the guy and him be black, but then for the stuff that happens in the movie, I don't know. It's just crazy to me that George Romero was like, well, fuck what everybody else thinks.
And that's one reason why Dwayne really didn't want to do any promotionals or anything for this movie, because of the atmosphere of the time. That was very unheard of. I mean, with the whole civil unrest and everything, it was unheard of for a black man to put his hands on a white person, and he was very much afraid of the backlash that was going to befall him because of what the character did.
But, I mean, sure, he punched Barbara because she was slapping on him or whatever, because she was...
Well, she was hysterical. He should have slapped her, not punched her. But he knocked her the fuck out.
He did go get her some shoes.
He got her some shoes, and he made sure she was comfortable after he knocked her out.
And she don't remember, but I did notice, and I never noticed this, cause I have 13 copies of this movie, and I've watched all 13 copies at least once or twice. But it's like I've never noticed that they actually had, the attention to detail in this movie is ridiculous, because she's got knuckle marks on her chin.
I don't know that I noticed it until I got you that Criterion.
I definitely didn't even
watched that. I noticed it.
I didn't notice it in the
that.
I mean, granted, we only got a 55-inch TV, but I definitely noticed it on the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I noticed
several
is
things I noticed
the lack
on here that I didn't notice at TV.
There's a lack of music in this movie. And the music they do have is it's some of the it was haunting. It's some of the most suspenseful music ever in horror. I mean, it's not as iconic as the Halloween or the Nightmare on Elm Street,
but it should be,
or the Friday the 13th music. I'd say it comes a close fourth. I would say Halloween, then A Nightmare on Elm Street, then Friday the 13th, and then Night of the Living Dead. Those are my favorite horror scores. But anyway, so yeah, I'm sure everybody that's watching this has at least seen this movie at least once. And, I know we had a lot of talk the other day about people not liking Halloween and how they're a piece of shit if they didn't like the new Halloween. That's completely ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't like Night of the Living Dead, in fact, you are a piece of shit and you can go fuck yourself. I mean, that's just common knowledge.
If you can't at least appreciate it. So I know a lot of people find stuff
Oh, it's
like
black
this.
and white. It's boring.
It's black and white. It only has like one jump scare, and
There's no cats.
there's no cats. There's no animals at all.
I mean, seriously, if you don't like this movie, it's because you're a piece of shit. Just, learn to live with it. Just come,
Again,
come
it
to terms
is a product
with the
of
fact
its time.
that you have no taste and you're just,
All right, movie snob.
no, seriously, fuck you. Fuck you.
Well, no, I mean, people need to realize that they need to start appreciating where we came from. It's not all 2018, oh my God, this is the best time ever. No. You have to start appreciating where we came from to get to now. Movies used to have an actual story. They used to have actual dialogue. It
And
wasn't
actual
just
characters.
kill.
Speaking of which, speaking of dialogue, some of the best scenes in this movie are specifically the scene where Ben is boarding up the house and he's listening to the radio. That whole, section of the movie, just him listening to the radio, is probably my favorite part of the movie, aside from the opening scene. And then, the television broadcast is cool too. But I actually like the whole part with him just listening to the radio. I mean, it's cool that they find the TV.
Well, I mean,
and I really do want the TV that they find because
the part where he's
it's an antique.
where he's doing his little monologue, where he's talking about where he came upon the diner and the whole thing with the
That's
truck.
also my favorite.
The emotion that he shows in that whole scene when he's telling what he saw, how it made him feel. That was as they said in the documentary.
The way he describes it, it makes it easy to visualize, so you don't have to fucking see everything that
And
happens.
like they said in the documentary, if he would have been in an A movie, that would have been Oscar worthy. That would have been an Academy Award worthy moment right there. But because he was in a low budget film, it got overlooked.
Okay, and then what was after that I wanted to bring up?
You want to bring up the music box?
Oh yeah, the just some of the angles and the lighting choices that George Romero made, and this was like an extremely low budget. He had no official schooling. George dropped out of college because he figured I don't need school. I can do this on my own. And goddamn it, if he wasn't right.
Well,
But
they
just
did make commercials.
in particular, the scene where she finds the music box and just, I don't know what it is about it. It's just, it stood out to me, and I told Sarah, I was like, hey, don't let me forget about the music box, because just the angle and the music coming from the music box,
it helped kind of calm you down. I mean, up to that point, it was a little bit, stress building, and just that one moment of normalcy where she hits the top of that music box and it's just playing that real soothing music and the panels are just turning and it calms you back down. It brings you back down a notch right before some other shit hits the fan.
And then the other thing I wanted to bring up that I don't know, by the way, I don't know if y'all know this. I had already reviewed this movie once. I don't know how to put a card, but if you just scroll, eventually you'll see Drewski McGillicuddy's Night of the Living Dead movie review. You can watch that, or you just watch that. Who gives a shit, right? But I wanted to bring up the fact that I happen to say that sometimes I like the 90s remake better than this.
I don't.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like I'm back and forth on it, but one thing I noticed watching it in theater that it stuck out to me is all the characters, even Cooper are more likable, and
I feel like they're more fleshed out.
It's not that they're more likable. I don't know how to explain
I don't
it.
know. I think
They're more real. Like, it seems like Cooper
in the 90s
in
version,
the 90s
they're more of a caricature of these characters.
Well, especially Cooper and Judy Rose. But like,
I don't know if it's just
Tom
the
in the-
actor
like-
in the 90s version.
because yeah,
but
Tom,
he's nasty.
even Tom in the '90s version, he's kind of annoying. Judy Rose is probably the most annoying character in the movie.
They make him over the top Hicks.
I like Cooper. I think his portrayal was good, but I don't know. I prefer this guy because it seemed like this Cooper almost turned it around there for a second once they got the Molotov cocktails and they were going out to the gas pump and they were going to get everything.
He was cooperating.
He was cooperating. Like, he seemed like he never was willing to cooperate in the remake, and that even when he did,
he was a gross son of
the
a
only
bitch.
reason that he did cooperate in the remake was because his whole intentions were getting that gun, whereas Cooper didn't say, I got to get my hands on that gun until after Ben technically was responsible for Tom and Judy's death.
Which he really wasn't responsible.
Yeah, he
Tom
wasn't
was a
responsible.
stupid ass who had that gas flowing, and somebody said,
Well,
watch out for the torch, and he's just like blowing gas all over the
They
damn
were
place.
in a panic. The only flaw I actually noticed in this movie, watching it in the theater, and I've noticed it before, but it's not really that big of a deal. The skull thing at the top of the step, which I have tattooed. I don't know if I've ever shown. I'm sure y'all have seen this tattoo. The skull that's at the top of the steps. When Ben goes to drag it out of the way, he's holding the sheet so that you can't see the face, but when he turns it sideways and drags it down the hallway, you can see the lady's face and she's not wearing any makeup at all. But, you know, I let it slide because this movie is a fucking masterpiece. What else you got? You got anything else? Should we talk about the ending? Or how Barbara, is comatose the whole time, and then the one time she does wake up,
That is kind of
it's
sad.
kind of a waste of time. She's like, and then Helen is. Well, speaking of which, I don't like the Helen in the remake. I mean, I don't know. There's just pretty much Barbara's transformation in the remake and Tony Todd's performance and the makeup effects are the only things that surpass the original. But as far as characters, character development, directing, and everything else goes, I got to give it to the original, because like Helen in this movie is one of my favorite characters. The way she talks back to fucking Harry,
She's such a product of that
Firecracker.
time, because
Speaking of which,
She
this
does-
movie is a product of its time.
because
The
she
90s
shut up.
version is a product of its time. And it's time to do it again.
No, it's not. May I continue with my thought?
I mean, they keep making these gay-ass zombie movies and these stupid-ass zombie TV shows that only fucking, jackasses like. But then you got movies like Night of the Living Dead that are being overlooked
But
by
they
modern
should-
audiences. Hold on,
They
just shut
should
up.
not redo
Just
it.
shut up. If they were to do it, they could do it right. And I
No.
think we found the one person that could do it right, because watching the documentary, hearing the words coming out of his mouth, it made me think, what if Guillermo del Toro decided to remake Night of the Living Dead? I think it would be a
Leave it
fucking
alone.
it doesn't even have to be Night of
I'm
the Living
tired
Dead.
of the
I
same
want Guillermo
stuff.
del Toro to make a fucking zombie movie.
That'd be
because I think
fine.
it would be fucking phenomenal.
But I'm tired of the same shit getting regurgitated over and over and over.
I'm just saying,
and
because
over
Night
again.
of the Living Dead 1990 had slight differences than the original.
Then call it something else.
Okay, whatever. She knows that it's my lifelong goal to remake Night of the Living Dead myself and actually do a good job, an even better job than the 90s version. Like, have all the characters be likable. That way, when they die,
But you can't have all the
You're
characters
affected
being
by it.
likable.
Because
Look at
that's the-
Cooper. You had to hate
Cooper
him.
was the only unlikable character in the original. But like I said, Tommy and Judy Rose and Helen are all fucking annoying in the remake.
Right. Because
I
you
wanna
want him
fix
to die.
that. I don't necessarily want him to die. It's just that it's like
Jesus!
you're
What the hell's wrong with you,
you
crackhead?
people are incompetent. They were.
Dumbass.
It seems like they were more incompetent in the. I don't know. We're not here to talk about the fucking remake.
And I
We're
told
talking
you
about-
you would fall into a conversation about the remake. I told you on the way here.
Oh my god. So anyway, how about that ending, huh?
The ending has always bothered the hell out of me. Even when I was younger and like one of the first 1 or 2 times I've
And
saw
I
it,
hate to keep
I
bringing up.
cried.
I hate to keep bringing up Halloween 2018, but as we all know, that ending pisses me the fuck off. But that's in a bad way. That's because, you know, there was so much potential to give us something better. This ending probably couldn't have got any better. It's perfect, even though it pisses me the fuck off. Because, you know, Ben is such a likable character and you want to see him survive, and he almost does survive. Oh, did I mention spoiler alert? He almost does survive. And then bam. It's like, oh my god, you fucking idiot. Why didn't you just go to the door and go something, help me, instead of... You pissed me off. But, you know, it's a completely different thing. Like, Halloween 2018 pissed me off in a bad way. This pissed me off in a good way. Like, it just... Because it was like, you know, a lot of movies have happy endings. And this was one of those ones where it's like, you can't always get what you want.
But it's real.
But you sure enough got what you paid for.
Oh, shut up.
Because this was totally worth, even though I own 13 copies, this was totally worth going and seeing it on a big screen.
Oh, I'm so pleased that we did. We finally got to see it because watching it on the TV is so much different than watching it on the big screen. Like, I even saw, like...
Did I mention the lack of music in this movie?
Yes, you already did.
Like,
May I mention...
instead of music, you get the sound of the crickets.
Yeah. You get, like, what would be realistic background noises for where they were at.
And then once shit hits the fan, that's when the music cues kick in.
The only thing I didn't like was, like, when Harry lit the Molotov cocktails and the fake fire crackle. When he lit the fuse.
Yeah,
A
but
sheet wouldn't have made that sound.
you gotta wonder if the lightning and the thunder sounds were real.
No, they weren't. Those were added.
Because, you know, for being so low budget, I thought there was a storm on the horizon.
Storm of Bruin? No.
But yeah. Oh, they also, one thing before we leave, because, you know, there's no sense of putting a rating on this because everybody knows. Did I give it? Did I give it a fucking 9, 10, 11, 12?
I don't remember what you gave it the last time.
I'm gonna give it. It doesn't matter what I give it. All right, it doesn't matter. Who cares?
This gets perfect the
It's
way
perfect.
it is.
Even if I gave it a 9 out of 10, what I meant to say was there's some kind of purple unicorn
this
involved.
movie is perfect the way it is.
And seriously, if you haven't seen this movie, I hope I haven't spoiled it for you. But god damn it,
It's about damn time you watch it.
stop being a fucking piece of shit and go fucking watch
Stop
Night of
being
the Living
afraid
Dead.
of it just because it's in black and white.
Also,
And because you've never heard of anyone that's in it.
if you also haven't seen Dawn of the Dead, that's free on YouTube. This is probably free on YouTube. All of George Romero's movies are probably free on YouTube.
Well, this one, because of the lack of copyright,
You should already own it and just probably don't know
has
it.
been free on many different medias for years.
You have no fucking excuse. Like, even Lee McCoy has seen Night of the Living Dead. As a matter of fact, he watched it twice within the same week. It was because he loved it so much.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else?
Not really. I think we covered all the high spots.
All right, well, that's one more for the fire.